Right now on the line, a guy who I've had the opportunity to interview in the past and a guy that really cares about the game in Canada, head coach of the Ottawa Fury, Marc Dos Santos. Marc, welcome, my friend.
How are you?
I couldn't be better, but Marc, before we get into this wonderful young team you have here, the Ottawa Fury, you and I back in the winter at the UFT Soccer Conference had a little side wager, a coffee if you recall, where you and I talked about the World Cup, and I had predicted that the USA and Germany would get out, and unfortunately Portugal didn't. Tell me how that unfolded, Marc.
Yeah, you had it right. I think it was a surprise because I think at the end of the day, Portugal didn't get into the World Cup in the right conditions. You know, we had a lot of players in Portugal that were very touched by a long season, especially the Real Madrid players like Pepe, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Fabio Coentrão, and they're probably the best players of the national team of Portugal. I think Portugal felt it a lot. Portugal doesn't have the depth of a Germany team, and it gave a chance to the United States, who was able to qualify with the same points but better goal difference.
Marc, let's talk about, obviously this World Cup has shown the world that there is no longer a superpower that will be a superpower for a long time. We saw Brazil get absolutely humiliated, destroyed on home soil. We saw Italy losing out and not getting to the knockout stages. England, Spain getting spanked. What did you take away from this World Cup that you have learned, like seeing countries like Costa Rica, Algeria, US of A, and Mexico in doing such great work in this World Cup that you're going to learn from?
Well, it shows you that soccer evolved incredibly well. You know, soccer no longer every country in the world has followed the evolution of football, and that's incredible to see. But at the end of the day, Anthony, I really think we cannot get blurred by a competition that only lasts 1 month. You know, if we would see a World Cup with a 10-month duration, well, the answers would be completely different. But I think it shows you that every country has an evolution, that you don't see anymore countries losing by 6-0 or 8-0 like you maybe saw in other World Cups. And at the end of the day, there's an evolution in this sport in every country in the world. And I think that a country like Brazil that thought that they dominated everything when it comes to soccer, now they got a little bit of a slap in the face, and they could look at it in a way that, hey, we stopped in the last World Cup in 2002, and we have to evolve now.
Marc, let me ask you this. Years ago, everyone wanted to follow the Brazilian method in teaching young players. Then it was Spain and the Spanish way. And now we're hearing again everyone saying, well, we've got to get to Germany to teach them the German style of play. And when Italy won the World Cup, people said, well, we've got to get Italian coaches in. To me, Marc, I don't know about you, but I believe every country has to have their own identity, their own style, and not rush to the flavor of the month of which country has won a Euro or a World Cup. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with you. And I think that's called character. To stick to what you believe in, and that you know that most of the time it's going to give you success. Let's not forget that Spain, they had a very bad start against the Netherlands, and after they lost against an excellent team that is called Chile. So it's not because of 2 games that everything that was done in Spain is not good anymore. I still believe that Spain has the best development of young players, that in the long term they will win more than anybody else, I think. But at the end of the day, I think that every country has to stick to what they believe in.
Well said. Marc, just before we close it out on this national page and talk about the Ottawa Fury, I'm going to give you one wish, and I'm going to put you in charge of Canadian soccer. One wish. What would you do starting tomorrow morning to change Canada's fortunes?
Wow. That's a very good question, because I think there's so much to be said. and I wanna be good in my answer. It's tough. If I have one wish, I would probably ask for a top Premier League in Canada.
Beautiful. Well said, because that's what a lot of people are talking about. A league coast to coast that has more opportunities for Canadian players like that are on your roster. Let's talk about some of them, Marc. You've got Drew Becky. You've got Andreas Frazenga, Marcel DeBellis. This is a young squad. How are they coming along in your mind?
Well, I think they're growing because a lot of them, it was a new world when it comes to the pro level. It was a new level of commitment when it comes to pressure. And when I look at all of that, I feel that at least, the Ottawa Fury is giving the opportunity to these young Canadian players to grow in a certain system and to get possibilities of just getting a taste of the pro level, where there's pressure, where there's demand, where there's a willingness to develop but also to win. And I think all of that makes every player better. And all these players you mentioned, well, they're getting the opportunity to grow when it comes to that.
Marc, let's talk about the NASL. It's a man's league. This is a league that I think a lot of people don't give enough respect to. I've watched a ton of games. You're playing a world-class club that has been in all over the world for years, in the New York Cosmos coming up. They've got a really, really stacked team of veterans, and you are getting your young side ready. How, in your mind, do you get this young side ready going up against a lot of veterans from other clubs in the NASL?
Yeah, not only in the NASL, the New York Cosmos got a couple of players from the Spanish league, like Senna, Marco Senna, like Ayodze, like Roverzio that was in the Premier League of Turkey, a guy at Ford like Nocelli that was the top scorer in the Serie B in Italy, Stockeline, so much experience. And for me, the best team in the league. But I will tell you one thing, Anthony, that's the way you grow. That's how you get your young players to grow, to evolve, to get under this situation with these type of games, and then they could get better every day. I don't think we need a lot of motivation for this game, They're expecting maybe 15,000 people at TD Place. It should be a wonderful afternoon, and hopefully we'll do something big as a team.
Marc, to me, you look at the NASL and some of the markets they're in. Let's take Minnesota. Minnesota has a strong history in the game. You take Carolina, Tampa Bay, Atlanta. These are great. San Antonio, Marc, packs them in. I mean, this is fantastic for your boys to go to these stadiums and see packed houses. And not only packed houses, but play on soccer-specific stadiums. How great is that?
Yes, the NASL is not the same thing that when the last year I coached the Impact. I look at the NASL when I was last in 2011 and now in 2014, completely different. You look at even a club like Edmonton that has grown a lot, and now Edmonton will have a soccer-specific field, with no football lines. And that was pretty much the last team that needed a soccer turf specific. So that's pretty much incredible. I think that the league, you said it right, doesn't get the right credit because at the end of the day, you saw that Atlanta, they knocked out 2 MLS teams from the U.S. Open Cup. Carolina knocked out 2 MLS teams. Again, they knocked out Chivas in LA Galaxy. The Edmonton team, they had a great run against the Montreal Impact in this Canadian Cup. And the budget is different. So when you look at that, you look at how much the NASL teams have been working hard to get in the map and how much this NASL is giving other opportunities. And it's another market that could give other chances to young Canadian and American players.
Marc, do you notice a buzz around the city of Ottawa? Do you notice that this time around, before there was professional soccer there, I'll never forget in the Canadian Soccer League, they used to be called the Ottawa Intrepid, they were involved in the Canadian Soccer League coast to coast, and they struggled at the gate. Do you notice something different this time around in the city of Ottawa with the fans supporting this team?
Yeah, different generation, and I think that when we went to play our first 5 home games at Carleton, we felt that even if we're in a stadium that's 3,000 people, we felt that the people were behind, And I think that what is really going to bring the people to the stadium is the concept of the stadium. It's a great match experience. The stands are very close to the field. The surrounding of the stadium is fantastic for families. People in OSEG are working extremely hard to give a good match experience to the people. And after, it's my responsibility with the players to give the best product possible on the field. It's not something that's going to be done in one day, Anthony. It's going to take time. We'll go through growing pains, but we're here to stay, that's for sure.
Marc, let me ask you a couple quick things, and then I'll let you go. We appreciate your time. To me, the defender on the rise, not only in the NASL, but possibly, I believe, one day will be in MLS, is Mason Trafford. This guy is hard knocks, physical, hungry. You could tell that he listens to everything his coaching staff have taught him, because he's a guy that goes about his business. Tell us a little bit about Mason Trafford and how it's been enjoyable watching him grow.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not in MLS. I think if any Canadian team would be, a little bit more attentive. He's a player that is 27. He's Canadian, so he doesn't take a foreign spot in a MLS Canadian team. He's an excellent depth player. He's a left-footed center back that could also play left back. I think it would be a very good pick for any Canadian MLS team, especially. So I think, yes, you're right. He takes care of his body. He works extremely well in training. The other day I was looking at training, and I even told my assistant coaches that, he always trains well. He always trains well. And he starts every game. He played every minute, and he works the same way in training. So I think he has a lot of maturity. In China, he learned a lot. He grew. He went through different experience. In Finland also. He's 27, so I would definitely be with my eye on it.
Marc, let me ask you this. Obviously, Ryan Richter coming down to you from TFC and being in their lineup last year a bit and also this season has got to be a challenge for him, but also for yourself as a coach, Marc. When he got sent to your club on loan, how did you handle this situation? Did you sit down with Ryan to make sure that he understood all the parameters with your club, with your team, the city, and what you expected from him? Because this has got to be hard for Ryan to come here, but also for the other defenders who know that this guy here is on loan. How did you handle that?
Yeah, it's a good question. First of all, when we spoke with the GM of Toronto FC, we were clear that, Ryan was here and he was coming here, but he still has to deserve his spot, When you talk about a loan, there's two different loans. The loan that Toronto would tell us he must play, or Toronto tells us it would be good if he gets playing time, but we understand that he has to win his spot. And Ryan came here with that mentality. Ryan came here open, and he's a very humble kid, a good player. And he came with the mentality of, I'm going to go there and work hard to try to play there. And the other defenders took it as competition. I have a mature team, I think, even if they're young, a team that understands that competition is just good for any player to grow. And we even did that in the goalkeeping position. We had three keepers, and Chad Bush, Marcel Debellis, and Davalagoric. And we just signed Romuald Pezet, that is a French goalkeeper that always played in first division in Europe, that is definitely going to come to try and play here. So at the end of the day, I think that when there's competition in a locker room, good competition where guys fight for spots, it's only going to make the team better, and that's going to be reflected in match day for sure.
Marc, we'll close it out with this. We really appreciate your time. But in your honest estimation, you've been around the game long enough. You've been all over the world, and you know the MLS product, and now you know the NASL product. How much of a gap, in your all honesty, is there between NASL and MLS? Or do you believe that it should be fully wide open for a first division and a second division, and may the best clubs win?
That would be ideal in a culture that would allow that first and second division. But I think that the distance is the DP. I think that when you have about three DPs that make a difference, and after three players that are almost between the wages of DP and not DP, those players make a difference because of budget. But I think when you look at the players that make the same salary as the NASL guys, well, there's no difference at all, in my opinion. And, you know, you see it, Anthony, when they play U.S. Open Cup games. As soon as LA goes to Carolina to play an Open Cup game, and they put aside DPs, let's say, oh, we're going to rest Keane today, we're going to rest Donovan. Well, they lose in Carolina, you know. So it tells you a lot how much the designated players are bringing quality to MLS also.
Marc, it was great to have you on. A pleasure once again to speak to you.